Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to break down a one-game slate, one game at a time for these injury shows as we move forward here into the Western Conference Finals opener tonight with the Lakers and Denver. Eastern Conference Finals opens tomorrow night with Miami and Boston, a repeat of the bubble playoffs. Not wrapped in bubble himself, joining me today, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you?
Great. Yeah, got a little later hike in. Pretty hot. Starting to feel in Arizona in triple digits now. But yeah, one game, get to really dig in and get to enjoy a little more, smell the roses outside, which is nice. I should be able to get hikes in every day. So exciting times and great basketball. Excited for the finals, conference finals we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is this time of the year. I'd mentioned all year long. I was really looking to forward to round two of the playoffs. I thought it was fantastic. I expect the conference finals and the finals to be epic as well. So really looking forward to these. From an injury standpoint, we do have a few names on the injury report tonight, and some might be more meaningful than others. Let's start with the Lakers, who have listed Anthony Davis and LeBron James probable, of course. Right foot soreness for LeBron James, right foot issue for Anthony Davis. Obviously, they've been listed probable most of the playoffs. There have been no issues there. Mo Bamba listed out with left ankle soreness. And I thought it was a little bit interesting, at least, that this was kind of an injury that was reported days in advance of the game. And all right, I see I'm spinning. There we have
Internet
Mike's back.
back.
Okay.
You
So
mentioned, were you talking about Bamba?
I was getting into Mo Bamba. Yeah. So on Mo Bamba, they announced, his injury status a few days ahead of this game. And I thought that was interesting just in the sense that the Lakers have not yet faced a team that poses any sort of size against
Hmm.
them in the playoffs in any way, shape, or form, right? Memphis, without Steven Adams, without Brandon Clark, was forced to play a little bit smaller. Golden State, obviously, with Kevon Looney's illness, they're forced to play a little bit smaller as a whole. With Jokic out there for 40 minutes or so, he's a big body. Do you want to have Anthony Davis defending him all the time that Anthony Davis is out on the floor, which brings in foul risk, leaves him unavailable to potentially be a help defender as well? And I just thought it was interesting that the Mo Bamba injury reports were coming. He's unavailable tonight, but is there anything we should be reading into that we might see other players, because Mo Bamba hasn't been on the playoff radar all season long, and I don't think we had any idea that he would be. Is there any chance we see players that we haven't seen, like Wenyan Gabriel, Tristan Thompson, simply because of the size that Jokic presents?
Yeah, a couple things on this. Mo Bamba, this ankle thing's been going on. He had PRP treatment. He has an appointment coming up today, and then I'll have a clearer timeline on him. But PRP treatment for a bigger dude in the ankle, definitely think he's going to miss additional games. So I think that, and they probably wouldn't, put him on a court in such a, important matchup. So I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to play for probably the first two for sure, maybe three or four, maybe the whole series. Who knows? I don't know how this injury's been nagging him for a while. And then the most telling quote from Darvin Ham regarding how to cover Jokic was Darvin Ham said they'll use, quote, a couple guys on their roster who could have a Dwight Howard like impact. You probably remember Dwight Howard was really the primary on Jokic in the bubble series and was pretty good. They kind of kept Jokic in check and was really physical with him. Jokic is a lot better now, yada, yada, yada. But so that raises the question, who are the couple guys? Anthony Davis, duh. And then I honestly think that LeBron and Rui Hachimura are next. I think that they are okay. We've seen LeBron guard centers at times. Obviously, we've seen a lot of LeBron center minutes over the years. So I think he's kind of next as another guy who could do that. And, Rui Hachimura got a little bit of size. They put him on some fours and fives. I think that they're comfortable, having him as someone that could try to slow him down. Vanderbilt, another obvious guy here, really, really skinny. I think that's actually pretty nasty. And I think Vanderbilt's going to get most of the non Jokic minutes. If you listen to the podcast, I'm actually pretty confident that Schroeder's going to start. Have been wrong before though. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the group. I don't think they need to go there with Tristan Thompson. Wenyen Gabriel's too small, way too small to guard Jokic. Even, I talked about Rui, but at least Rui gives you some shooting and other components of your offense that, Wenyen doesn't. So I think it's, no one they're adding to the rotation, but just using pieces of the rotation just to take AD a little pressure off him. But so AD, Rui, Vanderbilt, and LeBron, I think are going to be the guys who pick up, 95% of the Jokic primary stuff.
Yeah, and I obviously, in a normal DFS setting, we're not talking about Tristan Thompson mattering at all, or any of these guys who would come out of the rotation. But in showdown slates, sometimes those really low owned guys can be useful. We'll talk through more of those strategies on the DFS show behind the paywall today. But I did want to note, we do think Schroeder is likely to start, but we are out on an island on that one in a big way across some of the most respected analysts in the industry. I'll just note that every break a preview, which we recorded our preview before I listened to other previews, just because I want to make sure I'm getting our authentic opinions out. But everybody else I've listened to,
Really,
Nikias Duncan and Steve Jones, Zach Lowe. A lot of people think the Lakers are going to be forced to play bigger and bigger in this matchup, and potentially starting Vanderbilt on Jokic and having AD a help, or LeBron on Jokic and having AD in a helper spot. So it'll be really interesting to see that starting lineup. And I do think if you see that starting lineup, it is a little bit of a tell one way or the other about how they might be approaching things. If you see Vanderbilt, for example, in that starting lineup, I think there's a chance that we might see some of these other big guys get looks. Whether it's Rui, because I think that's signaling, hey, we're going to try to guard Jokic with a lot of different guys and protect AD as much as we can. I think if you see Schroeder in that starting lineup, I think it's a good indication that they feel pretty comfortable with their smaller lineups on a whole, and you'll probably see more of LeBron, AD, Rui, and you won't. I doubt you get into Tristan Thompson or Wenyen Gabriel or any of those guys. I think if Vanderbilt's starting, there's a small chance that you get into those guys, as they might be signaling a willingness to just throw different bodies that are not AD on Jokic because they want AD in the help spot and they want AD out of foul trouble.
Two things that have pushed back on. One, Mike Trudell, who's Lakers. Since we recorded, I checked out some of his stuff, and he thinks Schroeder too. And I would take him over literally anybody on the planet.
Sure.
Anybody. So I still feel pretty good about it. And two, oh god, you're just throwing the Nuggets a bone on taking pressure off Jokic on defense. You could just hide him on Vanderbilt. Then you're kind of playing it a little nasty where I think they're comfortable putting Gordon, and I think they are, KCP slowing down LeBron a little bit. I think it's a little bit viable, and obviously you can switch the matchups a little bit here and there. But I mean, I've been wrong before when I'm confident. This will be another confident answer for me that will go down right or wrong, where I'll be either applauded on Slack or ripped on Slack. But I'm ready for it.
I mean, in these situations, you get the starting lineup and then you adjust. You have all the news, so it's not a big deal either way.
For sure. I'm very prideful in my starting lineups, obviously.
And I think Schroeder is more likely as well. It's not just a you take, but I'm just noting, a lot of respected national analysts do think that they're going to play bigger. So wanted to highlight that as well, and what the potential starting lineups could mean in terms of what the rotations look like. Let's move to Denver's side, where they do have a big questionable tag on the injury report. It's Jamal Murray, listed with the non-COVID illness, the same non-COVID illness that he was listed at game day of in Game 6. Game 6 was last Thursday, if my memory is correctly.
I remember because I was there.
So that's what, 4 or 5 days. It's a little bit concerning. Mike Malone talked about how this illness was kind of going through the locker room. It's a little bit concerning that he's still getting listed with a questionable tag. I don't think there's any concern in terms of his availability tonight, because if we're 5 days out from the illness, he's got to be healthier than he was playing for Game 6. But just a little bit of a concern that this thing is lingering around the Nuggets locker room a little bit longer than you normally would anticipate.
Yeah, 0% concern on availability. Did media, showed up on time the day of the illness, got ruled in pretty quick, said he was never missing the game, mentioned the time off. The fact that he did practice in media yesterday is like all you need to hear. And, he looked fine. full go. I have almost zero concerns. Mike Malone also said that this illness was bothering him. Mentioned that other guys as well, but honestly, I think that maybe the most likely answer is maybe they forgot to re-update their injury report.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, there every other piece of evidence is like, okay, this dude's definitely playing. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that.
Any other injury notes on these two teams? We're going to obviously make these pretty quick. There's no filed injury report for Boston and Miami tomorrow, so we'll tackle that in tomorrow's injury show. And for those of you who want kind of more in-depth breakdown on this series and our expectations, you can check out Established Run's NBA podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, so on and so forth. We broke down in two separate episodes, the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, with our expectations for the series, which Mike was alluding to before. That should provide you all the free analysis that you would be potentially looking for the series. And then behind the paywall tonight, we'll talk about specifically how to attack the showdown slate. Coming off the Game 7 bink on Sunday. So looking forward to hopefully continuing that hot streak. And I do think there are ways to think about playing showdown very differently based on what part of the series you're in. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the show today. But any other injury notes specifically that we need to touch on before we get out of here?
Nope. Everybody looks pretty healthy. Just off the top, the AD LeBron stuff's totally fake. We know they're going to be full go. The Schroeder P tag went away. That's a good sign for him. So yeah, these teams are they had time off, should be ready to go. We'll definitely talk about Jimmy Butler, who's not 100% yet, tomorrow, and then we'll probably be back to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday going forward, and kind of do two for ones, including covering some weekend stuff. When we do the Friday show.
Yep. All right. So as always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to many formats of NFL offseason basketball contests, the Puppy, Best-Ball Mania, the single entry stuff. They've got everything you could need for offseason NFL best ball contests. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tools to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. It's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. All right, behind the paywall today is me and Gary, I believe.
Me.
Me and Mike again. Yeah, perfect. So myself and Mike Gallagher behind the paywall. I'm getting back in the swing of things. So appreciate all the coverage that I've had and all the help from guys like Chris Lafakis, Gary Hartman, Justin Fan, and of course you, Mike Gallagher, in picking up the slack for me. But we'll be behind the paywall and we'll talk specifically how to approach showdown stuff on this slate. Groups, rules, potential stuff that we'll talk about in terms of correlation, and then how it differs playing showdown early in the season, early in the series compared to late in the series. All strategies that we'll talk about on the DFS show at 5 o'clock Eastern. So join us there behind the paywall. You can still get weekly or monthly subscriptions to our DFS product if you would like. As always, if you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button and help feed that algorithm. You help feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families. We keep feeding you the NBA injury information and analysis to make your DFS lineups, your spread bets, your prop bets. So feed that algo. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.